back on the Boulevard. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Monday, May 13th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. And if you're with us here on the Boulevard after dark, viewer discretion is advised. Parents strongly cautioned. Listen, you guys are lucky you're getting a show out of me tonight. DC drops to 3-4, and I'm right now, I think, a little delirious. We'll just put it that way. Long day in Audi, riding the metro down early in the morning, and now we're on the air at midnight, but we are here. And I want to say, if you're here with us tonight, then you're going to enjoy this first matchup because it was the Sicko Special. Zook, we had the Showboats and the Renegades to kick things off. And honestly, this was a game that I hyped up as potentially the game of the year. So why not? Let's go ahead and look at the highlights tonight. Arlington seeking their first win at home. Showboats, losers of 5 straight. Early on, Lindsey Scott Jr. to Sal Canella to open up the scoring. They were running Scott Jr. in those red zone packages. Canella slams it home for a 6-0 lead. 3rd and 2 for Memphis. High snap for Troy Williams, who got the start over Case Cookus. And a host of Renegades are there to stop him on 3rd down. Showboats do settle for a Matt Conklin field goal. Perez gets it back. Late first quarter. Nice throw there. First down to Javante Payton, who was very active on the afternoon. Here's a 3rd and 7. Perez stepping up in the pocket, throws a stiff arm, finds his guy. Payton in the corner of the end zone. Luis Perez was sharp. 85% completion on the day for the King of Spring. 14-3 Arlington. Early second quarter. Troy Williams trying to battle back in it. Picked off by Tenny Adewusi. Former San Antonio Brahma taking it into plus territory. Arlington already up 11 with the ball now in the red zone. Here comes Perez. Fires it down the far sideline to Caleb Vander Esch, who reaches out, but they mark him down at the 1. Still a great play from Vander Esch. Been inactive the last couple weeks. On the goal line, Davion Smith up the middle for a touchdown. Extends this Arlington lead to 17 early on in the first half. Perez, Smith, too easy on the 2-pointer. Back to Vander Esch. They wanted to get him in the end zone after he couldn't get that touchdown. 22-3 Renegades. Showboats defense in shambles. But a muff punt by Manigo there, and they're going to get it back. Heads up play by the Showboats. Down by 19. Got to be now for Troy Williams. Stepping up in the pocket, running into his left tackle, evading the pressure, fires it downfield. A beautiful play from Williams to Jonathan Adams for the first down. Memphis knocking on the door. Williams in the pocket, across the middle. Daywood Davis. Touchdown Boats. Crawling back in this game. They did not get the 2. They had it back on a 3rd and 15 now. Williams has some time. Cross over to the near sideline for Davis. Tries to cut back inside. Does get it into plus territory. Big 3rd down conversion there. Now Memphis driving. 4th and 3. Just too far over the head of the receiver. Incomplete for Troy Williams. That was a turning point. Now Arlington trying to get back in the end zone. Check down to Smith. In the red zone. That set up Jonathan Garibay. Sneak one in right before the half to go up 25-9, so 34 total points. This over-under was 45. Underbettors not loving this. And early on in the 3rd quarter, Darius Victor was stuffed by Adewusi, who had a huge game. Renegades got it back. They went to Smith. Rumbling. Bumbling. Stumbling. Down the near sideline, Davion Smith had his breakout performance of the season as Arlington went back to him time and time again. He cuts inside for the first down here. Smith. Now Lindsey Scott Jr. in his red zone package. Right up the middle to the deuce. Great day for him, over 100 yards on the ground and a few touchdowns. 31-9 Arlington. and it wasn't over yet. Perez, Peyton, chalk. They were on the same page all day. It just seemed like Perez didn't throw many incompletions. This Memphis defense was just atrocious. And how about Joe Powell getting himself a pick, representing for Globe Tech? He won a championship with the Renegades last year. They sign him back. He gets an interception on his first game. Great to see Joe Powell back in it. John DeFilippo can't believe it. And the final here, Arlington 47, Memphis 23. And for big game Bob Stoops, his 200th career win as a coach. Got to give him some congratulations. Bob Stoops is a legend in the coaching community. Not many people have done that. He said in the postgame, our Chuck Long, his offensive coordinator, actually said in the postgame, sorry it took us so long to get you win 200, but he's happy with this one. Perez, 296 and 3 touchdowns. Great day from Davion Smith. Renegades had 8 pass completions of 15 or more yards. They set the UFL scoring record. And for Memphis, their defense has allowed 37.2 points per game in the last 5 games. As we said, Renegades 47, Showboats 23 in the Sicko Special. Now, the game of the year in spring football in the UFL. Most highly anticipated matchup since XFL 2020. Martinez versus McCarran. And Adrian goes down on the first drive. Peter Talmopenu. Now AJ with the ball back. Early first quarter. 3rd and 12. Darius Shepard, as you're going to see on the replay here, slips on his break. AJ Thomas picks off AJ McCarran, saying, who's the better AJ today? See Shepard slips out of that break. Thomas anticipated it. Safety coming across the middle, said, give me that. Takes the lunch money. Birmingham back in business. Now Martinez in plus territory. Looking for a receiver. Gonna find Kevin Austin into the red zone on first down. That was a big play, but they did back themselves up with a penalty. So now they had a 1st and 20 from right back where they started. Martinez in a 5-wide set here. Take a couple steps back and just roll out immediately. To his right, hesitates. Up the far sideline, just gallops his way to a 1st down. Martinez with 60 rushing yards. They go to the T formation. CJ Marable finds the end zone to open up the scoring. Birmingham takes an early 6-0 lead on St. Louis, who had some miscues early on in the first half that proved to be detrimental in this game. 3rd and 7. McCarran, screen pass. Shepard trying to redeem himself. Moves the sticks into plus territory. 3:53 to go first. AJ stepping up in the pocket. Turning on the burners. McCarran putting on a show for his family in the stands. 24-yard run sets up Schmidt from 38. Gets that one to go. It's 6-3. Birmingham with a 3-point lead midway second quarter. Benjamin Victor up and over. Did not fumble there. They rule him down. That set up Ahmed for a 27-yarder of Birmingham's own. 9-3 game. Low scoring in the first half. Who's going to open it up? Of course, Double Ocho. Hakeem Butler. How many times have we seen that play? Butler set St. Louis up. Birmingham almost had a goal line stand here, but Jacob Sailors pounds it in on 4th and goal just before the 2-minute warning to tie this up at 9. 2-point conversion for St. Louis to take the lead. Right back to Sailors. Huge day for the tailback out of Tennessee. 11-9. Now at the 2-minute warning. What does Birmingham do better than any team in the UFL? They put on a masterclass right before the first half. There's a completion to Williams. Now to Marable. Into plus territory. Martinez on 3rd and 6 now. Saves the drive. Another slant to Marlon Williams inside the 10-yard line. 19 seconds to go. 3rd and 4. Touchdown Birmingham. Unbelievable how surgical Martinez was on that drive. They always do this every game. Just when you let your guard down, they sneak one in on you before half. And not only that, they're going to get 8 out of it. 17-11 on the end around to Marlon Williams. But wait, St. Louis with a chance after a penalty. Hakeem Butler gonna fall down, and Andre Schmidt, line drive laser from 61 yards out, and St. Louis fans take a sigh of relief. That was a massive kick. 17-14 Stallions in the break. Ricky Person just running over people with the truck stick, set the tone for the second half, but Ramiz Ahmed hooks the 41-yard field goal. He was so good so far this season, can't get that one to go. Sterling Hoffrichter on a punt. Isaiah Zuber back to receive. It's a muff! Jerome Cap! Slim Shady! Johnny on the spot recovers it inside the 5-yard line. They took a long look at this. It did touch Zuber. 3rd and 7. McCarron evading the rush. Rolling out. Sailors again. The check down scores. Jacob Sailors had a knack for the end zone. St. Louis takes the lead. And this is where things started to open up, folks. A huge 2-point conversion try up 3. They stuff them. Big moment in the game. Battlehawks, 3-point lead. Martinez, 3rd and 16. Nobody open downfield. Takes off, makes 2 men miss, and that's where you miss Mike Rose, who was out for this game with an injury, and Martinez made them pay. Here's 2nd and 10. Late 3rd quarter. Martinez, left, right, looking for a receiver. What a dime to Jordan Thomas, keeping his head downfield. Now 3rd and goal. Adrian to Marlon Williams, wide open in the end zone. Not a man around him. Birmingham up 23-20. Trying to answer with a conversion here. On the 2-pointer, 5-wide set. Try to go to the same spot for Deion Kane. St. Louis holds tough on defense. Battlehawks said in a moment like this, down 3 in the 4th, it's time to go to our best player. Hakeem Butler with 2 massive 3rd down conversions. AJ looking for him. Said, I don't care if you're double covered. If you got DBs draped all over you, then we're going to set up Jacob Sailors. Yet again, bouncing off of tacklers into the end zone. Another lead change. It's 26-23 Battlehawks. What a game. How can you not be romantic about football? 2-pointer here from McCarron. Back in the end zone. No. After a penalty backed them up. Just too high for Steven Mitchell. So now it's Birmingham serve. 5:32 to play. Slant route. Kevin Stone Cold Steve Austin Jr. Touchdown Birmingham. On a slant. Anthony Beck can't believe it that they gave that up on a slant. And a crucial 1-point conversion. Martinez fakes it to Person and of course finds Jay Sternberger. That kept it out of reach with a field goal. So AJ's gonna have to score. Just under 4 minutes to play. Big pass breakup by Ism there on Hakeem Butler. Birmingham's gonna get it back. And on 3rd and 11 to ice the game, Martinez gonna get sacked. Wait, he gets out of the pressure and he gets the 1st down. That was the filthiest play of the UFL season. I don't care what you say, my play of the year so far. But they blocked the punt. You can't be serious, St. Louis. They're going to get it in plus territory. 40 seconds to go. They give AJ the ball back. McCarron scrambling for dear life. He's going to fall down here on 2nd and 3. We got to go. No timeouts. We used them all on defense. Get to the line on 3rd and 2. We got to clock it. We got to clock it now. 19 seconds. And they're going to spike it. Set it up for a 4th and 2. Plenty of time to call this one. 5-wide set for AJ. Who's going to make a play? Over the middle. Peasy. Broken up. Kiava Tizino saves the game for Birmingham in front of 15,000 Stallions fans. AJ McCarron can't believe it. Played the whole second half injured. And just a miscommunication with Peasy. A huge breakup from Tizino. Skip Holtz gets the best of Anthony Becht. St. Louis covers the 4.5 somehow. But Battlehawk fans come up empty. 14 straight for the Birmingham Stallions. And at this point, will it ever end? Doesn't seem that way. Got to give Birmingham the credit. Adrian Martinez is the front runner for league MVP. 21 of 33, 230 through the air, 60 on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Just an incredible effort. Birmingham goes 64% on third down. Martinez throws to 10 different receivers. And for A.J. McCarron, he fought like hell with that ankle injury in the second half, but they can't get it done. Stallions win the game of the year so far. Will we see a rematch? It's Birmingham 30, St. Louis 26. On to Sunday for some Mother's Day football action in the district. Brian Lewerke getting the start for Michigan, and all he had to do is hand off to Matt Colburn. Huge run there to start the drive, and if you thought he was done, he was not. Matt, turn on the coal burners! Down the near sideline, he's not going out of bounds, going to cut it back inside, tries to get to the end zone, dragged down inside the 10-yard line. DC gashed for 200 on the ground against San Antonio last week. Run defense not looking good early on. Brian Lewerke scrambles in from a few yards out, and just like that, it's Michigan 6-0. They get the point after to extend the lead to 7. So DC's got to answer. They go with the reverse for Kiki QT, trying to get their playmakers in space. QT down the sideline, but just steps out of bounds. Looked like he could house that one. Looked like the defensive players early on were having trouble taking angles. And speaking of angles, Matt McCrane, not even close on that one, just uncharacteristic. Michigan says, anything you could do, we could do better, with Marcus Sims on the end around for a nice gain. Bryce Perkins now in for Lewerke. And a penalty here on DC. You see Monte Nicholson fly in late on Siyosi Mariner. So an automatic first down sets up Michigan on the short porch. Bryce Perkins handed off to Colburn, who was the player of this game, 137 on the ground. Did not score there, so they put in Wes Hills, who barrels it in from 2 yards out. They quiet the Audi Field crowd, 13-0. Until this, Ty Scott burns the defense. 30, 20, 10. Ty Scott in the starting lineup gets the crowd back into it. It's a ball game. 20 points in this first quarter. Now the punt. Chris Rowland, muffs it. Just when things were going DC's way, the Panthers recover inside the 20-yard line right at the end of the first quarter. Lewerke, trouble with the snap, so they back up Jake Bates. But it's almost like he's more comfortable. 51-yard field goal on 4th and a mile, 16-6. We thought Bates would maybe have some trouble on a wet field. We were wrong. Now Bryce Perkins enters the game. 4th and 1. DC defense gets a huge stop as Wes Hill slips. 7.5 to go in the first half. DC trailing by 10. 3rd and 7. Sacked by Rondell Carter. DC backed up against their own end zone, has to punt. Lewerke and Perkins switching, rotating throughout the day. This time Lewerke gets the 3rd and 4 completion to move the sticks. Now 3rd and 11. Clock is ticking. You notice DC has 3 timeouts. Electing not to use them. They let Michigan run the clock all the way down, and Jake Bates kicks a field goal to go up 19-6. DC did not get the ball back there until the 3rd quarter. We're on a 4th and 1. The Panthers make the stop of the game, get the ball back, and they just started churning yardage on the ground. Matt Colburn, one of the better tailbacks in this league, running all over this defense. Bryce Perkins here going to keep it on the RPO. Just no answer from the defenders. They somehow stayed in this, though. They were forcing enough field goals. Jake Bates extending the Michigan lead here. 3rd and 4, Tamu. What an absolute stick from Breland Speaks. DC challenges it, says helmet to helmet. Could have gone either way. Speaks, game changer. Jordan Tamu comes out. DeAndre Francois comes in, gets hurt on the first play. So now DC down to the emergency quarterback. Jalen McClendon finds a big 3rd and 14 conversion. So wait a second. DC in business. Until they had to settle for a field goal. McCrane gets redemption from 37 yards out. Makes it a 13-point game. 3 minutes to play. Last chance for McClendon. Gonna try to scramble up the middle on 4th and 15. Can't get to the sticks. And that's a wrap from Audi Field. Just a miserable effort from the DC defenders today. Have to give credit to Michigan, who came into this with a 3rd and 4th string quarterback, alternated them throughout the day. To me, it was Bryce Perkins, the star of the show, 11 for 13, 116 yards, had some rushing yards as well. Very efficient. Matt Colburn did his job, but the Panthers defense holds DC to just 9 first downs, and the defenders' offense basically had all of their production from one play, which was that 70-yard Ty Scott touchdown. Guys, it's hard to stomach. The DC running backs, Cam Harris, Darius Higgins, 4 carries, -6 yards. Panthers, 22. Defenders, 9. And to cap off the weekend, it was Wade Phillips and the Brahmas heading back home to H-Town, where they coached the Roughnecks last year and looked good early. Dormady to Latimer, the familiar connection, sets the Brahmas up on the short porch here on the first drive, but John Lovett, who looked good last week trying to hurdle, gets a forced fumble. So not even a field goal out of that one. Heads up play from Glenn Logan to grab that one. Still scoreless. Roughnecks opting to start Jarrett Garantano over Reed Sinet in this one. Incompletion on 3rd down. Back to Juice Ellison. Just seems like the toughest guy in the league to bring down. Who wants to hit him? Reverse, Speedy Stevenson. Another fumble for San Antonio in the red zone. Rutledge for the Roughnecks hops on this one. Brahmas can't hold the ball, shooting themselves in the foot. Can Garantano answer? 3rd and 11. Big sack from Prince Emili there. No points in the first quarter. Overbettors hating this one. Dormady, Landon Akers with his breakout game. 3 catches for 72 yards for him. Santoso going to get Brahmas on the board with a chip shot here, 3-0. Roughnecks in the shadows of their own end zone most of the day. This time they finally pick up a 3rd and 6 to Anthony Ratliff-Williams. Get momentum going a little bit. JG need to see that one. Here's a 3rd and 3. Just no protection. Tavante Beckett, Jordan Williams, you name it. We're in his pocket all day. Late first half. Garantano going up. Safety across the middle, but look who hangs on to it. Big catch from Justin Hall, who they call Shawty. 48-yard field goal from J.J. Molson. Sneaks it in. We're tied up at 3 at the end of the half. Garantano nursing the wrist. He said on the sideline it was killing him. They opt to keep him in. Here's a 3rd down, early second half. Trying to get away from pressure yet again. 4 or 5 Brahmas after him. Another sack. San Antonio tallied 6 of them on the day. Gave the ball back to Dormady, who got drilled. This was a sack fest. That one, the strip sack. Chris Odom wrecking absolute havoc on every offensive line he's faced this season. Houston, got to capitalize on these turnovers. 3rd and 8. Garantano, gonna scramble. Trying to protect the ball, gets the first down. Houston in business. Trying to take the lead. Across the middle, Justin Hall hangs on after a big hit from the safety. Now 3rd and goal. Tano rolling right, looking for a receiver, but a huge play from Jordan Mosley coming up from his safety spot to wrap him up. And this is what Houston could not afford. Settling for field goals, 6-3, 6 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Back to Dormady. Takes another sack. Houston D-line, a force to be reckoned with. J.J. Molson from 62. The year of the kicker in the UFL. Molson cracking a cold one with the boys. 3rd and 11. Dormady picked off by Colby Richardson. Not much going right yet again for this San Antonio pass game. Houston trying to extend the lead. 3rd and goal. Kiki Chisholm spun down short at the 2. C.J. Johnson opting to kick the field goal instead of go for it there to take a 9-point lead. We'll see how that pans out. Kevin Hogan in, Quentin Dormady out. Hogan providing a spark over the middle to John Trey Kirkland for a first down. Dormady can't believe he was benched. John Lovett sneaks in from a yard out. And just like that, a three-point conversion away from tying it up with 2:24 to go. And Mr. Clutch, Cody Latimer, coming up when they need it. Wade Phillips says, "Yeehaw, I'm back in H-Town, baby." But here's the play of the game. I want you to watch number one. Bryce Thompson, heat-seeking missile, flies across the field, sideline to sideline, jars the ball loose. Do you believe it? 51-yard walk-off field goal for Ryan Big Toe Santoso. What a finish. The Brahmas do it better than anybody. They decide to play in the final 2 minutes of the game after taking 58 minutes off. The defense had 6 total sacks, 103 pass yards for the Roughnecks, just not going to cut it. They did force 3 turnovers on defense, but they didn't capitalize on them. Justin Hall had a nice day. But Devontae Beckett was the star. 9 tackles, 2 TFLs, a sack and a half, and improbably, the Brahmas 15, Roughnecks 12. And you know what that meant? A 2-2 split. Yet again for the XFL and the USFL. And you know what that means again for the total season series? 7-7. XFL, USFL. Right down the middle. We're going to have a 3-game series to end it. You got San Antonio, Birmingham. You got DC, Memphis. And if they split, it comes all down to the UFL championship game to split the rivalry. Speaking of rivalry week, Zook had some pretty big moments that he loved. Let's check out Zook's top 3 of the weekend.
Sleeper, Ty Scott. After compiling over 150 yards and a touchdown the first 3 weeks of the season, Scott has been quiet in the receiving game ever since. With Scott now in the starting lineup and costing only $4,700, he is a low-price, high-value guy that has the ability to put up wide receiver 1 numbers this weekend.
Playing at running back for DC. Little pop pass. Don't let him go. Ty Scott out of Missouri State and out of any chance to be caught. 70-yard score.
Defender, you let this thing clear. The defender's going to dip down inside, number 13, and now you throw the slant right behind him. Really well executed. Jordan Ta'amu got the look that he wanted, that he needed. It's an easy one-on-one pitch and catch.
I'm here with defensive coordinator for the Defenders, Greg Williams. A big 4th and 1 stop. You went to a bear front. Why did you go that, Coach?
Well, the bear front, you know, Buddy Ryan a long time ago, and that's what we've always done. We've been able to load the box, make the lineman block, and then also I was looking for a bear to make a tackle. A few more missed tackles, and I'm going to put a bare foot up somebody's ass.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you got it.
Slant is wide open, and it's one-on-one. Slant is wide open, one-on-one. Take it. They got no passing game. Slant, 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 slants. Don't throw your arms at me. Just take the slant. Read what the defense gives you.
Well, that all goes on, right? And guess what happens here to Sebastian, the corner? He gets sucked in on the slant. He's supposed to be in zone because they're passing off the motion. Well, he just jumps the slant because that's all they're running. And guess what? No one's defending the flat, and Marlon Williams is wide open. And Adrian Martinez does what his coach actually asks him to do. Not take the slant. Specifically, it's take what the defense gives, which was the flat route, because of all the focus on that slant route, even from the sidelines from St. Louis. What an amazing opportunity here in the UFL to hear the coaches talk about what's going on and see it play out on the field.
Back on the Boulevard, Monday, May 13th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. Yes, it is Monday. This is Boulevard After Dark, 12:30 a.m. on the East Coast. We are setting records, Zook, and I do want to say, because in the break, I checked. Yes, we are live. I got to raise a toast to everybody who's with us tonight. Not in a million years would I ever imagine that we would have a UFL show that people loved enough to tune in at 12:30 Eastern time. I want to thank Walt Soph in the chat, who's been one of our biggest supporters. Walt, we love you, and I raise a toast. We're not sponsored by Mountain Dew, but I sure as hell need one to get through the rest of this show. It has not been a great day for me. Toast. Zook might be drinking a little bit of something else. So, let's take a look at our best bets from the weekend, Zook. You know, when we look at these kind of weekends, we thought we were getting sharper and sharper. We talked about, being on the same page with most of our takes. And we talked to TPG, our contributor, after the show, and he said that might not be the best idea.
I said that on the show. I was like, it makes me nervous that we're both on the same teams, same everything.
Right. It could have been worse. My weekend in best bets was bizarre. You took DC money line, so I'm going to give you the floor first. That was our first joint play of the season.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to talk about it, so I'm going to give it to you.
Never again.
That about sums it up.
I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's a team. I sat here and I talked some trash about them, but I also said they got to clean a few things up, and they're not a bad team. We'll break that down later.
So let's talk about Battlehawks plus 4.5.
That was a sharp pick.
Yeah. That is unbelievable how in the St. Louis-Birmingham game and in the San Antonio-Houston game, just how sharp the lines were. If you took St. Louis at open, you lost this bet at 3.5.
Right.
I can't believe that. Normally, you'll get some CLV by taking these games early. I'm in shock. I would have been in a situation where I would have recommended get on this as early as you can, because I thought we were going to steam closer to 0. We backed away from that. This line closed at 4.5, and Birmingham wins by 4. One of the crazier betting situations of the season, so.
Yeah, I mean,
that's tough if you took.
I know you're taking a ton of shit on social media about picking St. Louis. Yeah. But yeah, I'm here to say you took the points.
Right.
You weren't an idiot like the DC game, like both of us.
Yeah, I wasn't touching St. Louis money line from a betting perspective. We do pick every game straight up. Yes, I did pick them, but yeah, Battlehawks cover 4.5 by the skin of their teeth.
What an epic game, though.
It comes down, crazy game. We're going to get into the full game, but from a betting perspective, the overhits, it comes down to that 1-point conversion. Yeah. There were people who probably had this at 3.5, and I am so sorry if that was the case, because it was probably a lot of Battlehawk fans, and then not only do you lose, but you lose your bet. So yeah, we cashed by the hook. Sometimes the hook gets us, but this time it went in our way. San Antonio -3 was an absolute miracle push. I probably didn't deserve this one, but that's okay, because I was thinking, do I want this to go to OT? Could potentially win by 4 if they get a couple conversions. But, my luck, they go to OT. San Antonio loses outright or wins by 2. So I'm glad Santoso hit it. I'll take the push as a win here.
How lucky can you be that an XC Dragon won you that game? Just saying.
Yeah, San Antonio -3. They were down, 9? Like 2 minutes to go. That's the San Antonio special. You had one more play, Zook.
I don't even want you talk about it.
Under 45, Arlington goes over the total by themselves. An offense that Zook had watched sputter all season, not be able to run the ball. All of a sudden, Davion Smith looks like Reggie Bush. Luis Perez looks like Vince Young. And Bob Stoops looks like Vince Lombardi. And
now, I'll give you credit. You told me right out of the gate you didn't like it. You asked me why, and I said I trusted my gut.
Yeah.
And there just must have been too much beer in that gut that night. I don't know. I don't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
And I know to stay away from the Renegades, and I still did it. So
they will find a way to get you one way or the other, whether it's a total or the spread. And yeah, I mean, I keep saying about the Showboats, defense can't stop a parked car, and that continues to be the case. So I go 1-1-1. You go 0-2. We could be better. We will be.
Yeah,
better
for some reason that graphic didn't change. Let me see if I could do something about. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. 2 push. Damn, that's weird. We got plenty of ball game left. Zook. And we got 3 more weeks of regular season. We'll have more plays for you. This was a 4-play week, but really 5 because we both took DC. So
right.
Let's go next week, week 8 coming up.
Fade in everything you do.
Let's go to DFS with the People's Gambler. He started Ja'Cour Pearson. They went to him at the end of the game when it came down to a clutch moment, but Butler really getting the majority of targets yet again in this offense, as usual. Peasy just not running enough routes, I think, at this point. The sit-him was John Lovett. Probably the right idea. He definitely didn't have the same production as the last 2 weeks, and he fumbled on the goal line. I know DFS might not take that into account as much, but he gets 16.5. And the sleeper hits. Ty Scott, 70-yard touchdown. TPG was fired up about that one, and he made Zook's top 3. Redemption week after getting clowned for sitting Hakeem Butler last week. So what goes around comes back around, as Beyonce once said. And TPG gets one for the good guys. If you started Ty Scott, you made some money today. Congratulations to him. All right, let's talk some games here, Zook. We'll get this one out of the way. Wow. I mean, if you were telling me that Luis Perez was going to come in this game and complete 85% of his passes, I'd be shocked. I really think I called this one as more of a 28-23. I actually nailed the Showboats point total. They did get a touchdown in garbage time, but what can you say about Perez? 27 to 32 for 296 and 3 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. This Showboats secondary is awful. They are giving up 37 points a game their last 5, Zook. That is a spring football record. And Davion Smith, who was held to 2.8 yards a carry up until this point, goes off. Goes over 100 on the ground. I think he threw for a 2-point conversion. He had 35 receiving yards. Just an incredible game from the former Michigan Wolverine. Memphis used 2 quarterbacks. Troy Williams came out for Cookus a bit. Cookus ended up throwing a touchdown, but ultimately Memphis they did what they do. They turned the ball over. They shoot themselves in the foot. They can't play defense. And I guess I understand now why Arlington opened at 3 and steamed all the way up to 7. I would have never taken it, Zook, but a lot of public money came in on the Renegades, and a lot of people made money on this game. We were not one of those.
No, not at all.
We learned our lesson before, but yeah, I have to give hats off to Bob Stoops. 200 career wins. That's a big milestone, and goes back to his days in college. Won a national title at Oklahoma. I think Bob Stoops is very important to the game of spring football. I know it's been a rough go for him since this kind of first to worst storyline that they've had to deal with, but Bob Stoops, the game of spring football is better with you, and congratulations on your 200th win. It was good to see Lindsey Scott get some reps in this game through a touchdown pass. I think we could still see more of that. Again, Perez was excellent. And Arlington defense, for the most part, held in there. They racked up some sacks. They got 4 sacks. Thought they played a solid game themselves. Sal Cannella, 2 touchdowns. Kind of found his footing again. And Arlington is clearly the best 1-6 team I think we've ever seen, Zook. What do you think?
Yeah, I've been saying that, and, Arlington's had as far as yards go, number 1 offense. Just hasn't won games.
Right.
We already know Memphis' defense is not good. you put those two things together, and this is the result you get. And a dumbass like myself took the under in this game.
Yeah, nothing really to say about Memphis. I mean, we could go back and forth on DiFilippo. I think he probably survives till the end of the season. I think he's interested in year 2. So, I think he'll campaign for him and his staff to stay another year. And I think that the USFL ties with that side are very strong with a guy like DiFilippo who stuck it out with the New Orleans Breakers, and I think they will retain him. Go ahead.
You also have to remember, too, like, from year to year, this league is going to change so much because you're going to lose players. You're going to have players that just, well, I'm not doing enough to make the NFL. I don't want to play pro ball or whatever the situation is, or maybe they do move on to the NFL. These rosters will flip hard. So, like, just because you're a shitty team now doesn't mean that you can't be a good team next year.
Yeah, Memphis will have the number 1 overall pick in the UFL rookie draft, which is important. I think for the Showboats, it's just you got to target as many of those those undrafted free agents that we saw get passed on in the NFL draft. You got to get the best of those. You got to overhaul your defense. I don't know if they bring in a new D coordinator, but that'd probably be the first thing on my list. And you got to overhaul the defense immediately. I think you have some decent pieces on offense, believe it or not. But there's just not good players on the defense. Luis Perez had 5 incompletions. They weren't stopping anybody. Let's talk about Arlington, Zook. I want your opinion on this. Their schedule down the stretch, at San Antonio, home against St. Louis, at D.C. So they get to play spoiler here.
Yeah.
Now they just set the UFL scoring record. So they got to celebrate with Stoops in the locker room. They put those 6 losses behind them. In their book, they're 1-0. How many of these games are they going to win, if any?
I'll say they get 1.
They're going to get 1 of them.
And that's what we've been talking about all year. You said, what did you say, over 2.5?
I had them at 4 and 6, so I'm going to be right.
But we set the bar on the show, I think, and it was 2.5.
Yeah. Later on.
I'm pretty sure I took the under. You took the over. Yeah, I think they get 1 of them. And here's the thing with this team. Again, it is a coin flip on who they're going to beat.
Yeah.
You just don't know what day they're going to show up.
Curious to see this Arlington and San Antonio spread, because odds makers have been relatively high on the Renegades, right? They come in as a 3-point favorite, as a 0-6 team. They get a bunch of money. And then San Antonio, they've been very low on, right? And I could kind of see why. They squeak by Houston. So guess the spread, Arlington at San Antonio. It's going to be close to a pick. I can't believe I'm saying it is. It's going to be 1.5. If you look at the first matchup, it was 1.5. What has really changed since then? Arlington has kind of taken a step forward.
And where is it?
It's in the Alamo Dome.
I guess it doesn't really matter. It's in Texas regardless.
They should have a good crowd. Renegade fans showed out in the championship game in that same building. I think they'll have fun coming back, especially off a win. And this is a 3 o'clock Sunday game, which I think is the best time slot that we've seen. So expect a good crowd. I think San Antonio, this is your chance. You could push 17K here, 18K.
I think San Antonio gives 4.
Wow. Well, I'm taking the Renegades. I swore them off, but if it's 4, I might have to. So that is Arlington and Memphis.
You just burn your money or what?
Let's talk about this one, Zook. Stallions, Battlehawks. Oh, boy. What a game it was. We talked a lot about the storylines and the narrative coming into this game on our Thursday show. You had McCarron's return to Alabama. You had John Chavis, defensive coordinator, who had a national championship taken away from him by an A.J. McCarron-led offense in college. You had perfect conditions for Birmingham's biggest crowd of the season. So all that delivered. And we got an instant classic in this one. We saw 5 lead changes. We saw 56 total points. We saw over 550 yards or so of offense. And it came right down to the wire with the ball in A.J. McCarron's hands, which I expected it to be. And Kiava Tizino with Scooby Wright down, with DeMarcus Gates down, with JoJo Tillery down, and Birmingham missing some pieces on defense. I think Lorenzo Burns down, another starting corner. And Tizino steps up when they need him the most and bats it away from Ja'Cour Pearson. I just think St. Louis made too many mistakes in the first half. And I'm not making excuses. I'm going to own up to it right here. I thought the safe play was St. Louis with the points, but I did pick them straight up. And I did have a comment on Twitter that I said this is the first and last time the St. Louis Battlehawks will be an underdog this season. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. I do appreciate some of the Birmingham players chirping me on that one. This is all in good fun. I'll eat it. And this is what we do in sports media. We have takes. And I got burned on this one. So appreciate the players. It seems like some of these Birmingham trolls online need to hug their mothers, maybe touch some grass, go to the game. How about that? You know, you're sitting in your basement in Southern California cheering on the Birmingham Stallions. Maybe get out and go to a game. The fans that were there, amazing. Have to give it to you guys. Very loud crowd. They have all these fan sections. Battlehawk fans showed up from St. Louis. It was a great atmosphere. But to kind of get back to my point, Birmingham was the better team. Zook, I think, too many mistakes for St. Louis in the first half. Shepard slips. Sailors dropped a huge 3rd and 16 right across the middle from McCarron in his hands. That would have set them up on the 5. They had to settle for 3. Butler had a few drops that are uncharacteristic.
Both teams had drops, so.
Yo, like I said, back to the point where Birmingham was the better team. But I think St. Louis going into the half 17-14 was at that point, if you're a Battlehawks fan, you're thinking there's so many breaks. But in the second half, they started to catch the breaks, right? Birmingham, muff punt. Shank a 41-yard field goal. So this was a great game in the sense that you had balance of back and forth mistakes where you couldn't just say one team had all the luck and that's, what happened. No, it was equal amount of breaks. So that cancels out, and Adrian Martinez takes over Zook in the second half.
Yeah, so we sat here on Thursday and we talked, and we've been talking about it for a few weeks. How great is that St. Louis defense? They're awesome. They're great. They still gave up 30. They didn't do enough offensively, and you're right. Big time 3rd down conversions for Birmingham. Martinez is just running around.
Automatic.
And we were talking about it. He doesn't look like he's even running full speed.
No, he's the Jaden Daniels of the UFL.
He's literally gliding 12 yards on 3rd and 11.
And hesitating. He doesn't even really know. I don't think he loves to scramble. I think he'd rather throw the ball.
Sure.
But he does what he has to do. And every time he's doing that, he's staring down Willie Harvey, who's one of the hardest hitting linebackers in the league, thinking, I might get hit, and that's okay.
And he just has a knack for that first down marker.
Ball carrier vision is a 99
He's an X factor, and he's dangerous. And he I know you said this to me too. He's probably the best athlete in the UFL.
Yeah,
right?
But let's remind people he didn't play in the USFL. I think some people need to hear that.
Sure.
Just saying.
But in the UFL, he's probably the best athlete.
Yeah.
He could do it all. He's scary. Now, I want to mention that during the handshake at the end, Beck said, I'll see you at the end.
Got to give it to Coach, man. I mean, he's confident.
And if everything goes right and AJ is actually healthy, What's going on with that ankle?
Yeah, he stayed in. He fought it out. Clearly hurt. What a gutsy performance from both quarterbacks, but really for AJ, who had his ankle turned in one of the worst ways on a
Nasty.
Carlos Davis kind of some extracurricular there, and
I think that's a dirty hit for sure.
yeah, intense game, and AJ was not happy about that one. He's already been dinged up this season, as you can imagine, with playing every snap. I think at this point,
oh yeah, for sure.
He came out for a drive at the end of the DC game, but he's the only UFL quarterback to play every snap for their team, and that takes a wear on you. So, yeah, what'd you think of the battle in the trenches? Because you talked about St. Louis defensively. It seemed to me, Zook, like the Battlehawks actually won, especially with their 3 sacks in the first half.
Right. They were getting there.
Defensive line was playing well. I think having Mike Rose listed as active, and then you see him in street clothes, is a curveball.
Right.
And, one that I'm not really happy about because it's not really supposed to go that way. We're supposed to get accurate information in this league.
Right.
So that we can make the correct bets. And I know coaches and players will laugh at that, and they don't care, and I don't expect them to.
Right.
But Mike Rose was not active, and a lot of people were shocked by that because he was listed as a starter.
But there's reasons why you're supposed to be transparent.
Right.
It's not happening across the board, right?
Yeah, if he's dressed, it's one thing, right? But no, he wasn't playing, and they could have used him. But I thought Willie Harvey had an amazing game.
Oh.
Continues to pop off the film, and he will be in the NFL.
Yeah, what a guy. Oh, can't say enough about him.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. Ball hawk.
And then the flipping sides, they actually protected AJ well enough to where he had time. They run block well for Sailors, who got to the end zone a few times.
Right.
And for the Battlehawks, I'm watching the first half and into the third quarter, and I'm thinking, okay, they've won the battle in the trenches. But it doesn't matter because you got Adrian Martinez, who's never in the pocket. He creates his own space, and it's tough to go sideline to sideline when you got a guy sacked, rolls out of pressure to his left, hesitates, takes off 15 yards. One play, rolls out of pressure to his right, might think he's going to run. Nope, Jordan Thomas, first down.
Interesting question for you, though.
Yeah.
Do you think St. Louis having too many weapons hurts them? My take on that is that nobody really ever gets in a rhythm. Ball's getting spread out. I mean, besides Butler, because he's a freak, right? But everybody else, I mean, you expect Pearson to be just destroying.
Right.
When any other team in the league has to cover all those guys, you would think there's somebody that's just going to feast.
Yeah.
And at least a couple of them. And it's not happening.
I completely agree. And a matchup that they could have taken advantage of was Lorenzo Burns, arguably Birmingham's best corner, being out. JoJo Tillery, their starting safety, has been out for 2 weeks. This was a thin secondary, and they had players like Ism and like Thomas step up when they needed to, and I was very impressed with John Chavis's defense and the linebackers like Tizino making a play. So do they have too many playmakers? That's a great question. It seemed that way in the first half.
It sounds like a stupid question, but it could be real.
Yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed.
Right.
And for Birmingham, there's not a wide receiver one. Isn't that interesting? 1 week it's Kevin Austin. 1 week it's Marlon Williams. 1 week it's Deion Kane. There's been other guys, Amari Rogers in that mix, and they're just so good in that receiving core. And it was really all of them. Against St. Louis, they all pitched in.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the stat was. They had 4 receivers over 25 yards.
Yeah, and 10 different receivers they hit. So they go for 144 on the ground. Martinez had 60 of that, 8.6 yards a carry again. Yeah, Skip Holtz out-coached Anthony Becht. And we saw that in your top 3 about not being ready defensively for the slants. On the Kevin Austin play that theoretically won the game with 5 minutes left, 2 Battlehawks ran into each other, and that was a bad look. And Anthony Becht kind of blew up and said it's just slant after slant after slant. And I think he kind of lost his composure with maybe not being prepared for that.
Right.
And Skip Holtz is on the other sideline saying, everybody calm down. Just take what they're giving you. Don't worry about, sometimes quarterbacks, especially Adrian Martinez, who is still developing as a passer. It's 1 look, 2nd look not open, 3rd look not open, I got to run. Holtz is like, slow down. Find somebody that's open before you take a sack.
Right.
He did not want Martinez taking sacks, and I think the Battlehawks had 3 of them in the first half, and I think Holtz was getting a little concerned.
Oh, a little? A lot.
Yeah.
I got one more question.
Yeah.
Just so you can get trolled. Hypothetically, this is the championship game again in June. We already know it's going to be in a Battle Dome. Birmingham only gets by 4 points in their home territory. I personally think the Battle Dome is worth 3 to 5. What do you think we're going to see?
Yeah, I think DC wins out, goes 6-4, makes the playoffs, beats St. Louis, and then we'll see DC Birmingham again.
Wow. Good dodge.
I plead the 5th. I'm not answering that question.
Did you just matrix that question?
That's the answer that I can. That's the politician answer that I can give and have as least many people in my DMs as possible. Because at least you know that at 1 a.m., me saying the DC Defenders are going to win out and win the championship is just a on drugs take.
Yeah, let's just go right into that then.
Deep breaths.
If you need me to start, I will.
Yeah, please.
All right, cool. DC is not a good team. And I'm taking back what I said weeks ago, that all I had to do is clean up a few areas because they're not a bad team. Take it all back. They're a bad team. I don't think they're coached well. They just don't have any time management. And from what I'm learning, they made Reed Sinnett look like a great quarterback. And they weren't Houston wasn't even willing to put him in when they had a quarterback that had a bum hand. So how much does that speak about how bad that DC defense is? And I don't care if Greg Williams sits there and says, I'm going to put a boot in somebody's ass. You're just not doing it right.
A barefoot.
A boot. That's whatever. Barefoot. It's late. Barefoot. They're just not stopping anybody. And it's like at this point to me, it's like an oxymoron. Your name is the Defenders. You ain't defending shit. Your turn.
It's hard to argue, Zook. Listen, you can't put a bow on a turd. There's no silver lining. I've sat here in this chair. I've made excuse after excuse. I've talked about defensive progress last week with the blinders on. I'm thinking this team did enough in the secondary to beat San Antonio. I look past the fact that they gave up 200 yards on the ground, and it bit them in the ass again today. First drive, Matt Colburn right through the teeth of the front seven. No answer from Greg Williams. 7-0 early. DC, I am so sick of watching this team play from behind. It's 4 out of 7 games. Every single time they spot St. Louis 17 points. They spot Michigan 13 today. They spot Arlington 20 right off the bat. I'm so tired of playing from behind. 4 carries for -6 yards from the running backs. No pass game. 1 big play to Ty Scott. That was it. Offensive line took a huge step back. Jordan got killed back there. Comes out of the game. Francois, he gets hurt. McClendon, first team in the UFL to have to use their emergency quarterback. Listen, I love the DC Defenders, and Reggie Barlow was Coach of the Year last year. Whew. This has been a fall from grace, and there were 2 situations in this game where I was baffled, and I didn't want to listen to Zook about the claims he was making. I'm buying into them a little bit because of the mismanagement of this situation. You're at the end of the half. You've got less than 2 minutes to play. Michigan has the ball. You've got 3 timeouts. You're down 7. You know you're getting the ball in the third quarter because you deferred at the start of the game. So, opportunity to go 2 for 1 here while Michigan's running the ball. Timeout. Make them kick a field goal. Give it back to Jordan with, I think it would have been 1:40 to go. Michigan runs the ball. A minute runs off the clock. Yeah, the DC defense stopped them. Short, kept him out of the end zone, made him kick a field goal. He kept 3 timeouts in his pocket going into half. And I asked him in the post game what went into that decision. You know, I'm not a football coach. I respect these coaches and the ideas that they have in these games. And he kind of danced around it a little bit, but he did tell me that it had to do with getting the ball back in the third quarter. And, you know, keeping the timeouts for offense potentially, which didn't really add up because they didn't get the ball back. The only thing I could really think of, Zook, what you're doing there maybe, is you think Michigan's going to screw up timing and maybe the clock runs out, but what coach is going to what coach is not going to get points there? You know, it's like, oh, do we let the clock run out on them? You know, it just wasn't going to happen. They also had timeouts. So it was that, and then even worse, ball game came down to this. 12 minutes to go, third quarter. DC down. They need to get a first down on 4th and 1. We saw them fail against St. Louis in this same situation. Got to get this one back. They bring Francois out. So Michigan blows it dead. Timeout. They call a different play. And Reggie said in the post game that they tabled it and they kind of got away from it because Michigan called that timeout and may have been ready for it. That says everything about being outcoached, having to call a second play. They bring Jordan back in. They lose 2 yards. Ball game. Zook, your thoughts on those 2 situations? Which one struck you as worse? And why?
The blunder before half is definitely worse. You can't take your timeouts to the second half. So, like, what are you doing? The one thing that struck me was at the end of the game, you have a 4th and 12, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly what it was. Long day. And McClendon's running, and he slid. That's the end of the game.
Well, that's because if he goes out, I go down and play quarterback.
At that point, I don't care. I'm trying to win a game. Like, you don't give yourself up to not get hit at the end of the game. That's the only time. Like, and I scream. I watch football, and I scream all the time. What did I yell about last year? Danucci, can you just slide? Please slide. But this is a game-changing moment. You don't get it, you can't win. You don't give yourself up 4 balls before the yard, or 4 yards before the yard marker. That's just crazy to me.
I understand that, but the game was over before that.
The
game was over when
I don't care. I feel like he quit, and that is a reflection on leadership.
Yeah, fine. I'm not going to point the finger at Jalen McClendon. 7.5 minutes to go, you're punting the ball down 16
right.
points. What
That's the other. Yeah. Well, why are you punting in that situation? I was going to bring that up too.
If you're
I think
waving,
it was 6 minutes. Yeah.
If you're waving the white flag as a coaching staff, your players might as well do it too. Yeah. I mean, even like special teams, Chris Rowland muffs a punt. Bad situation. Matt McCrane misses a field goal. This was an absolute dog shit effort. And like I think about Michigan, hats off to you. I'm not taking credit away. I promise. I'm a DC fan, so I've got to talk about us first. But I do want to talk about the Michigan Panthers because I'm not talking about them enough.
Their defense is nice.
Yeah, I was wrong when I said Brian Lewerke is going to play quarterback here. Double down on the money line. I said right on Twitter, we had money line thinking Danny Etling would start. Lewerke comes in. I'm thinking, yeah, that line moved up to 2.5 with just that happening. If you rewind to, I think, 3 weeks ago on this show, we talked about Bryce Perkins, the new signing out of UVA for this Michigan Panthers offense. Boy, did he start today. That is a kid that I would give the reins to down the stretch if Danny Etling has a broken hand on his throwing hand and cannot go and does not have any grip strength, cannot be 100% down the stretch, especially because now you've clinched a playoff berth. Sure, Lewerke was fine today. Bryce Perkins has a very high ceiling. He only had 2 incompletions. He ran the offense so well on these RPOs. And this is a kid who's just coming in a couple weeks ago, got back to his college form. So look up Bryce Perkins highlights at UVA and tell me that's not their starting quarterback going the rest of the season. He was excellent, and you could tell the guys love him.
Let's not forget about the clinch.
Yeah. And what, we called that 4 weeks ago? I know they had to do it mathematically, but it was very clear who was going to play in the playoffs. And going back to Bryce Perkins, he is the type of player who can get you a win over Birmingham, but it's going to take more than just him. There were some low spots for Michigan here. They were actually 2 of 11 on third down. Did you know that, Zuck?
I did not.
How the hell? What are we doing, DC? We hold them to 2 of 11 on third down. We lose this game by 13. I mean, it makes me want to vomit in my mouth.
Well, flip over to what your third down percentage was.
You don't want to know.
I do.
How about our PAT percentage?
Well, we've been talking about that for weeks.
Well, I can't get a PAT. You score 1 touchdown today. You run it up the middle from the 5. I can't get off this 4 carries for -6 for the running backs. I mean,
I feel like Michigan's picking up steam though as they go. And are they going to turn into last year's Renegades? They're not sneaking into the playoffs. They're in it. But now you have 3 more weeks to really just experiment and perfect your craft and get other players more playing time and experience. Like, I don't see the only home field advantage for Michigan would be that Bates is kicking in a dome.
Yeah.
Besides that, I just don't see it.
That's another thing. DC had him back up to a 58. They commit a penalty. 50-51 it becomes. I mean, it just like Michigan, back to Michigan. Can they be Arlington? It has that kind of vibe, but who's that Luis Perez type of player? Is that Bryce Perkins? Is that Brian Lewerke? What's that spark? Because they're very good fundamentally, and Mike Nolan is a absolute pro. I mean, you're talking about the San Francisco 49ers head coach at one time in this league with a great staff, a great GM and Steve Kaiser who put together a great roster here. They just do everything well. They run the ball well. They stop the run well. They got great pass rushers like Breeland Speaks. And I'm going to close this game out with this point before I literally get sick on the air. There was a moment after this game down on the field between Breeland Speaks and DC GM Vaughn Hutchins, who I respect dearly. I love Vaughn and everything he's done for DC, and I don't want to talk negative about this coaching staff or anything that Vaughn Hutchins has done to lead this team to an XFL North Championship last year. But there was a moment on the field where Breeland Speaks and Vaughn Hutchins got into a little friendly exchange where Speaks basically said, "You could have signed me, but you passed up on me." He got asked in the press conference about it, what he said. And he clarified that before the start of the XFL season, so 2 years ago, there was a chance Breeland Speaks out of Ole Miss could have become a DC Defender, but became a Michigan Panther. I would love to give Vaughn Hutchins the floor. It's not about one player. It's just about my overall theory that I just feel like DC could have attacked the draft a little harder. There's a number of things going wrong here. Coaching, offensively, defensively, special teams. It's really an all phases failure right now. But was the mentality that you were going to bring a roster back that dominated the XFL last year and not go after the draft as tough as St. Louis did, as tough as Birmingham rated NFL practice squads, as tough as some other teams attacked dispersal drafts? Maybe there was a little complacency that we're going to be good enough keeping this core group together. And I'm not going to lie, I'm guilty of thinking the same thing. I thought it was a good enough core. The problem is that core lost Lucky Jackson. That core lost Chris Blair. That core lost Abram Smith to injury. They lost Joe Wallace up front this year. And this current roster just isn't cutting it. I think it's deeper, Zook, than just a scheme thing, and that's what I'm going to end this one with if you have any final thoughts. Good on this one? All right. And again, I'll say it forever. I love the DC Defenders. I love Vaughn Hutchins. I love Reggie Barlow, Fred Keiss, Greg Williams, all of you. Turn it around. Don't give up on the season. You got St. Louis in the Dome next week. Let's get a win. Let's turn this thing around before it's too late. And prove me wrong that this roster can't win big games. Because they did it last year. San Antonio, Houston's going to be a short one. Brahmas win at the buzzer 15-12. This game was fumble, sack. Quentin Dormady running for his life. Jarrett Garantano playing through a broken wrist when a perfectly healthy Reed Sinnett was on the sideline. Speaking of third quarterbacks, with some of them that we talked about between Jalen McClendon and Brian Lewerke, how about Kevin Hogan, recent signing, who was QB3 at one point on this team, and gets in the game, goes 5 of 7 for 38 yards, comes in with 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and engineers a 9-point comeback. They were down 12-3, and they tie it up with a 3-pointer to Cody Latimer. Nobody takes advantage of UFL rules like San Antonio between the 4th and 12s and the 3-point conversions, right? Wade Phillips loves it. We asked him about it against Memphis. He said, "I love the rules in this league. They always seem to work out for him." But, yeah, the story of the game was the offensive struggles. Houston, once again, 9 penalties. They continue to be by far the highest penalized team in the league. Curtis Johnson settled for too many field goals. I think there was one when they had the ball right on the goal line. They kick a 21-yard field goal. That ain't going to beat the Brahmas. They should have took a page out of Memphis's book, who did the same thing, kicked 5 field goals, end up losing by 1 against San Antonio. Houston had them right where they wanted them, man. I mean, fumble after fumble. Dormady goes 10 of 24. He's not the answer here. And it's 12-12. You got a kickoff return, and you fumble it, and it's game over. And that, my friends, is the Houston Roughnecks of 2024. Thoughts on A.J. Smith here, Zook? This is a guy that we've talked about a lot. And I did warn everybody on Thursday. 3rd straight road game for San Antonio. 3rd straight game in bad weather conditions. These offensive struggles. How much do you put on A.J.? How much do you put on Dormady? How much do you put on maybe the offensive line?
That's a good question. So what I will say is I thought AJ started just pounding the ball at the end and started running.
What they've gone through the last 3 weeks now.
They're air raid, right?
Yeah, it's not working.
They're running the ball. And they have 2 good backs. And he made the necessary adjustments, probably a little too late, and they got lucky to win with that kickoff fumble.
Yeah.
But I think I don't want to put too much on AJ because he's doing what he got to do to win. They're 5-2.
Right.
Did they look good this week? No, not at all. Not in the what'd you say? The sack, fumble,
yeah, the
interception,
the San Antonio special,
field goal,
sleep through 58 minutes and play the last 2.
That's just insane.
Yeah.
But what do I always say? Good teams find a way to win.
Yeah.
And Houston's defense is no joke.
Yeah.
So they're finding ways to win. Something other teams aren't doing when they're close.
We're not going back to this. We've moved on.
I said some teams.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them too. Like, I mean, look, you just throw Arlington into that mix. They could just as easily be
with the close games. Yeah. San Antonio, I mean, AJ had to be losing his mind. Against DC, they get stuffed on their first drive on a 4th and goal. They did the same thing, except this time John Lovett tried to hurdle somebody and fumbled on the goal line.
Right.
Great start. You know, you go all the way down the field on your first drive again. You fumble.
2 drives in a row, right? Or 2 out of the first 3?
To Stevenson.
Yep.
Where Houston forced 3 fumbles and recovered all of them.
And if you start watching some of these guys, for the love of God, will you stop leaping in the air?
Yeah, this happens on a weekly basis.
Like
Keem Butler, Benjamin Victor, John Lovett.
You land on your head and you lose the football. Just go down. You don't it's that extra yard isn't that important.
Yeah, you're not Saquon Barkley. Relax.
Unless it's 4th and 12 when you decide to slide. I'm not saying that. But
Lovett's was wild. I mean, there's 4 guys there.
I just don't get it. They're all doing it.
And he gets up right away and he's like,
and I do. I get it a little bit. You are trying to prove that you can make it to the next level. But I guarantee you, if you get to the next level, your coach is going to say, stop leaping in the air, right?
Yeah.
Because in the NFL, the real big boys are going to hit you, and you will be hurt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I missed this one in the highlight, but what you going to do when Kevin Hogan runs wild on you, brother? What a quarterback, right? Out of Stanford from David Shaw, playing for the Stanford Cardinal. I think he made 5 Rose Bowls back in his day. Are we out on Quentin Dormady? This is his 4th start, 5 picks, maybe 100 yards a game. I mean, close to that. Completion percentage is awful. This is not the Quentin Dormady of Orlando. Do we go Kevin Hogan going forward here?
Yeah, potentially. I just don't think this is the right style offense for him.
Yeah. It's a shame, too. I would have liked, Q came on the show last year. He's a great guy, faced a lot of adversity in his life.
Absolutely.
And told us a lot of his stories, and we were rooting for him. And it just hasn't worked out. Square peg, round hole, right, type of deal.
And sometimes, it's just not his system.
And they did point out on the broadcast, too, that Kevin Hogan can run the ball. I think he had about 350 yards in each college season he played, which was it was a 4-year starter at Stanford. Juice Ellison, a treat to watch. Yet again, only 4 carries. Probably should be a little bit more, but yeah,
Where's he from?
Yeah, so, between Juice Ellison and Bryce Thompson and some of the other guys, Chris Peyton Jones and Quinterio Cole, it's just been a Sea Dragon party, peasy. But I don't know what Houston's doing. You got a guy out there with Jarrett Garantano who. No, I'm not questioning his toughness. He arguably had to tough it out even worse than possibly A.J. McCarron did. That wrist is not ready. He hurt it against D.C. back in week 2. He was in so much pain he could barely get to the tunnel with it. They kind of rush him back because things aren't going right, and he's grabbing that thing the whole game to the point where sideline come over to him and say, "What's wrong?" And he says, "I don't know what's wrong, but it's killing me." Well, you came back too soon. That's what's wrong. I don't know if Reed Sinnett wins this game, but that was not the right move.
I don't think it matters. You're a 1-5 team. You're not making the playoffs. It's just not happening. So why the hell are you putting players in danger or allowing them to play hurt? At this point, I'm not saying, and this is not a give up, but if you truly care about player safety, you're not putting them in that situation.
It just seems like a cluelessness because it's like you start Jarrett over Reed week 1. You say Jarrett fits the offense more. We know what Houston likes to do. It's the RPOs, the slants, a lot of the same stuff that DC and Birmingham do. You say you want to run the ball. Jarrett fits that mold a little bit better than Reed. So you start him. Then Sinnett comes in against DC week 2, and now C.J. Johnson's on the sideline saying, "Damn, this quarterback can throw the ball," as if he just found that out. So now he's proven wrong by Sinnett. Sinnett comes in. They beat Arlington. They probably should have beat DC, if not for some bad luck there. And they play well in some games, but they go back to Jarrett because I think C.J. Johnson wants to be right about who he started week 1. And now
maybe
you're just completely stuck in no man's land with your quarterback situation because you don't have one on your roster that's capable of winning.
But he's also screaming on the sidelines at his players to get their head up. He's getting flack. And he's like, "This is a team." Like, he's just screaming. Like, he doesn't really – I don't know if he has complete control over that team or not. And now who he was yelling at kind of was like, "All right, yes, sir. Yes, sir." Because you have to. I mean, you got to turn into a pro at that moment. But does he really have that team? I don't think so.
Let's go to our Mark Thompson tweet of the week. Last week he retired on Twitter. This week he says, "This shit lame." And then he clarifies, "Losing is lame." They didn't think I needed to explain that one. So we'll let that Mark Thompson tweet of the week speak for itself. Thompson had 9 carries, 38 yards, and he had 36 of them on 1 carry.
Yep.
But it was the longest run of the day for Houston. Jarrett, I know you want to play, but take care of yourself, man. Get that thing fixed. You don't want to break your wrist as a quarterback.
Because if you truly want to get to the next level, you're not doing it that way.
He's young still. This is not – you re-break that thing or whatever's wrong with it in a game, I mean, you're out for God knows how long. So
is this the problem with the UFL right now? Yeah. Is that players don't want to reveal that they're hurt. They know this could be their last shot. Yeah. And I hate to say this because I like the merge, but has the merge since they went down to 8 teams, created more of this.
This is waking up every single day with your back against the wall at every position. You're not doing this for the money. You're not doing this for the fame. You're doing this for the love of football and for your family to one day give them an opportunity and support them by making an NFL roster. So, yes, absolutely. Playing through pain. Even a guy like A.J. McCarron, who has nothing left to prove, is playing through pain. And I think when your face of the league is doing it, he's leading by example. Those guys out there know that A.J. is banged up. And they're thinking, if a 33-year-old, 12-year pro is out here making $7,000 a week to do this through pain, what's my excuse?
Yeah, but AJ's the ultimate competitor.
Right.
I mean, he's clearly above.
He wanted that so bad.
He just wants a championship. That's it. He wants a championship so he can retire.
Yeah, and head coach.
And
enjoy head coach of the Battlehawks.
And enjoy that
right
beautiful family of his. Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so I like that question to end it. I think that's a good note to end it on. Am I missing anything? Because it's 1:27 a.m.
Yeah, you got one more thing to do.
My least favorite part of the night. The power poll on the Boulevard. Yay, power rankings. I can't wait to see all of you come out with yours on Monday. Woo, it's so much fun.
It is Monday.
Damn it. I think my computer just died. I forget what the poll is. Can you tell me what it is? All right. If you're on podcast, yes, the Birmingham Stallions are the #1 team in the UFL. That is undisputed. 7-0. Battlehawks 2, Brahmas 3, Panthers 4, Defenders 5, Roughnecks 6, Renegades 7, Showboats 8. Biggest ones I struggled with: San Antonio and Memphis. Or sorry, it's late. San Antonio and Michigan. There's a head-to-head there. Michigan offense was non-existent against San Antonio. Is that a very kind of ugly third team in the league right now? Yes. But the good news, they're back inside for the rest of the season, the entire way, no matter what happens. Michigan could be 3, easily. The only other one I really have trouble with is Houston and Arlington. I'm tempted to move Arlington to 6, and I can tell you right now, they play a close game against San Antonio and take them to the wire. I'll ignore that head-to-head win that Houston had, and I'll absolutely put Arlington there because I think that they can get more wins than Houston when it's all said and done. Memphis is not just 8. They're 8 exclamation point. That'll do it for us on the Boulevard tonight. Again, thank you guys so much for sticking with us tonight. I mean, we know it's late, and I got back from D.C., and Zook and I still have fun coming on the air. For the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I am Matty Fresh. We are coming up to Week 8 of the UFL. I cannot believe it's gone this fast. I just said to Zook before the show, happy 1-year anniversary of the championship game, which, what the hell? Not a good day for me then, not a good day for me now, but we live to see another down. And you always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you Thursday for a preview.